So Parnell asked a question: is there any way to get maintenance records during due diligence? Not usually, because here's the thing. Now, like maintenance work, like these reverse mortgages, they've secured the property. There's going to be a sheet oftentimes in the asset that shows when somebody visits the property. You might be able to see some work done. Like I was just looking at one in Minnesota last week where you can see that there was some water damage in 2023 and it was repaired in 2023. There's actually a sheet in there. But most of the time, not. Most of these properties haven't been maintenance. Okay. Most of them are winterized. Okay. If it's occupied assets, you have no clue. You're not going to be able to get into if it's occupied. You have to understand that. Okay. And that's the fact that you're buying at a bigger discount. That gives you the flexibility to have to rehab. You can't go after repair value. ARV does not exist in the note business because we don't own the asset. Now, is it nice knowing that you're buying in an appreciating market? And if you do foreclose and take it back, that you have that extra appreciation? Yeah, it's great. But you can't count on that. That's just the cherry on the top. Okay. Part of the reason why we buy occupied assets is the fact that we don't want to rehab. We want that borrower. We want to rehab the borrower. That means not send them to Betty Ford Clinic, but get them back on track. Okay. When you're starting on the note business, that's the best way to go. Occupied assets that have been been non-performing, really then no later than COVID. It's been 4 years since COVID. If somebody was non-performing prior to COVID, they haven't been performing, that's a foreclosure all day. If they were performing prior to COVID and it was a COVID default and they've been hit and miss, that could be a modification. Reinstatement is the way I look at it, the way I evaluate the markets. Okay. But if it's vacant, you really need to put eyes on it. You may not be able to get into it, but send somebody out, peek in the windows, and go from there. Maybe you need somebody out with a boot hammer. We're rehabbing the borrower, not the property. Now, like I'll give you an example. I got this. I mean, if you get a list of them and they're vacant and there's a lockbox, I will ask, can I get into it? Now, here's another thing. It's nice. If a seller's tried to sell the property before in the last 6 months or a year, you may be able to see interior photos if they were trying to sell the property. Okay. Or they were trying to rent it. We've gotten interior photos that way before from the seller who was trying to move the asset or rent the asset. That showed what kind of condition it was. That helped us. Don't count on that. Okay. But this is why we buy at bigger discounts, because if we do have to foreclose, we may not have to rehab. If we can price it at 85, 90 cents on the dollar at auction, great. Let's sell it that way, make my money, and move on. If it's a negative, so if we're buying it at 60, I'm finished the foreclosure. If I can price it 85, 90 at the auction and make my 25, 35%, and that's a good deal for me, then let's do it. Sell it at the auction, get your money in, and move on, versus having to take it back, fix it up, pay commissions. You're probably going to end up netting about the same anyway. All right. So let's talk about funding options as we move on. Any other question? Good question, though, Parnell. Thank you for asking that. And if you're watching the replay, ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, and I'm not answering them as we go, most of the stuff builds on. I think you understand that. Always email me, talk@scott@weclosenotes.com, or book a call with me, talkwithscottcarson.com, and I'll book a call on my schedule, and you pick away questions, and it'll take you directly. And yes, I answer my email. Yes, I answer my Calendly, and you book your call with me, not somebody else. Okay. So let's get into funding options now. So how are you going to fund these deals? You're going to need some cash or other people's money. You're not going to go get a note from a bank to buy a note. Okay. You'll be wiring money into the bank, wiring money into the seller. You're not going to close at a traditional title company. Now, this is buying institutional debt. Okay. There's no title being sold. The title's still in place because you're buying the note, not the property, right? So there's no title insurance being created. So a title company doesn't want to close these because they can't make any title money on it. So you're just going to close either through an attorney's office where your money is wired in. They provide a copy of the collateral, copy of the deed, and then once that's done, then the attorney wires the money to the bank. Most of the time when you're dealing directly with banks, you're just going to wire directly to the bank, and then they're going to send you the assignment of mortgage, which is what transfers ownership, a copy of it that day with a bill of sale, and then the stuff's going to show up in a week or two. You can use business lines of credit if you want to use that. Some people want to use their home equity line of credit. You got to be very careful about that. Don't cash out your cash advances in your credit card. somebody did that. They pulled 70 grand off their credit card. I'm like, and then they sent that money to me to fund a deal. 6 months later, they're all panicked because their 0% interest gone. I'm like, listen, this is a 24-month deal. How the hell did you expect it? Oh, I don't know. I thought you'd be done with it. I'm like, I told you it wouldn't be done in 6 months. So why are you doing that? So I had to refund their, I'm not refund their money, but cash them out and move on to somebody else because they were just stupid. IRAs, this is one of the great sources. Okay. Now, if you're looking to build business lines of credit, get with Merrill Chandler at getfundable.com. He's one of our best guys to go do that. That's what he's an expert in. Okay. Helps them get lines of credit, personal business, stuff like that. He also did a boot camp. He's changed this up a little bit. He's got a new boot camp coming up in August, I believe. Check out getfundable.bootcamp.com. I really believe it's a required 2-day course. You'll learn more in that about credit and your personal credit report and using credit, stuff like that, more than anything else out there. But we use 90% of the time OPM. Other people's money. Yes, we use our money sometimes, but we use primarily OPM. And that can be a lot of self-directed IRA funds. People that have a traditional or a Roth, or they've got a 401k that they've rolled over into traditional, or maybe they're self-employed or business owner, they have a solo 401k. Maybe they're using a SEP IRA like I have. You can also use a self-directed HSA to buy notes. If you've got a high deductible insurance, health insurance plan, you can have an HSA. Some people use an educational IRA, like a Coverdale. We've got some folks that are taking their family members and putting $2,000 a year into it for their kids, and they're combining that together, not pool their money, partnering on the IRAs to buy one note, and then whatever percentage of what they funded, the percentage that goes back. Okay. There's a whole variety of different IRA accounts. You can go through this video and watch that video whenever you want. Just talks about the different. If you don't have a self-directed IRA, go get you one. It's one of the most valuable things you can do. If you go to rocketdollar.com, they usually give us a discount of $50 off if you go use the code NOTECAMP to set up an IRA with them. To give you a bit of an idea on what you can contribute to an IRA, the numbers for what you can contribute to in 2024 have gone up just about across the board. Yeah, everywhere across the board. In 2023, it was $6,500. You can now contribute $700 or $7,000 to traditional. Same thing on a Roth. An HSA, you can now contribute up to $4,150 individually or $8,300 as a family. You can put away up to $23,000 into employee 401k contributions. SEP IRA, you can put up to $69,000 away. That's great. And the solo 401k, same thing, up to $69,000 away. So there you put a lot of money. If you're making a lot of money, put away in there self-directed. And yes, you can use your own IRA to buy a note. The thing is, you can't do any of the maintenance. You'd still need to hire a third-party servicing company to do that. And that's okay. That's what's great about IRAs and notes, is that you have that third-party servicing company to do it. Now, if you end up foreclosing, taking the property back, you're going to have to hire property management and that kind of stuff to do that. So if you use other people's money and pay them a flat 8% or 7% or 10% return to them to borrow their money, guess what? You can go out and do whatever you want with that note. Okay. You're just paying your investors back their money at 10% and either paying them back when you sell the note or when you foreclose and sell the asset. Okay. Other ways to fund or even collateralize. Here's the thing. When you're borrowing money from another investor, there's a lien on it already. You can't go put another lien on a property you don't own. Okay. You're the bank. So what can happen is if somebody's going to give us money, we'll collateralize with collateral assignment, where basically we'll assign the collateral to them to hold from other notes we own or the existing note. They can hold on to that collateral from the note that they're funding and hold that as that's their security bond. Can't foreclose with the collateral. Okay. A UCC1 is usually filed at the county against that LLC. So just in case they sell something or they sell the asset off, boom, the money goes back to them. One of the most popular ways is to do co-assignment of interest. Now, what happens when his note is sold, it's not a deed that's filed. The deed's still the same. Remember, same borrower. So when a mortgage is sold from one bank to another bank, what's created is an assignment of mortgage, an AOM, as we call it. And that says ABC Bank assigns its interest or whatever to Scott Carson, LLC for such and such notes recorded on such and such date, right? So if I'm borrowing, say Forrest wants to give me $50,000 to fund a note purchase, what we could do is on the assignment, it says ABC Bank assigns 50% interest to Scott Carson LLC and 50% interest to Forrest Hyde LLC or IRA for Forrest Hyde. Now he doesn't get 50% of the profits. There would be an operating and funding agreement that outlines that, hey, you're getting 10%, but you have an interest in that note. Okay. Some people like that. Other people don't like to having their IRA name out in public, and that's totally fine. Whether way you want to go, you can. If I got a property with a ton of equity, I can put a second lien on that property for the amount that I'm borrowing to buy the note. People sell partials to finance the purchase of new notes. Okay. Or if somebody's going to bring a sizable chunk to the table, you start a new LLC with the investor. Okay. Yeah, if somebody's bringing $250,000 or more to the table, we'll go create a separate LLC just for that investor, where I own 51% of the LLC, they own 49%, and then that LLC is buying us. Then we can legally like split that better than a flat return. Okay, just depends. Talk with your investors what they want. Some are more comfortable with different ways. It's a conversation, but don't let this stop you. Don't go out and say, "Hey, I'm not going to buy a note, so I'll go raise capital," because investors want to see something tangible. We raise capital at the same time that we're going through the deal process. Yes, we've done it longer, so we have a lot of people sitting on the sidelines, but you can raise capital at the same time that you're raising, but you got to start that marketing process on the front end, not the back end. Okay. Yeah, investor funds the LLC basically is another way. But buying shares, you can structure that as whenever you're using a self-directed IRA, it's going to be a direction of investment funding form that you're going to fill out. Usually need a lending agreement, copy of the note, stuff like that. A couple different ways to set it up, but we'll talk when you get into that. We can help walk you through that, what's going on. Will a bank give me a note loan? No, not usually. Banks will not lend on notes. Some hard money lenders or some smaller banks will. I'll give you an example. Eddie Gant with the Jet Funding in Houston, he creates notes because he's a hard money lender, right? So when he makes a loan, he will then give that collateral. The bank will give him a collateral assignment. Will give him 50% of the loan. So if he made a loan for 150 grand, they'll give him 75 grand and most immediately by doing collateral assignments. Now he's replenishing his hard money loan, so he can make more loans. Some will do it. It's pretty easy to do in that case on too hard. Some banks will also joint venture on commercial notes. We've had this happen in the past where we're buying a note from a bank, and the bank was, well, if you'd like to looking for a joint venture partner, tell us what you want to do. Because sometimes banks don't want to, just because they've had that relationship, they don't necessarily want to lose that note, even though it's due. They may be willing to finance your purchase of that note if it's usually $1 million or greater. Okay. And then it's one way for them to move that note from the non-performing side of the bank to the performing side of the bank. So we've had that happen before. And like I said, you're not usually going to get a collateral assignment until it's $1 million or greater. We've had some suits do it smaller on some commercial assets that the banks didn't want to take back. And the owner was walked away, so it's helped them out that way. Okay, but you usually got to have a team, especially on the commercial side, that's experienced in that asset class and operations. Okay, and they may still require you to bring 15 to 20% down of whatever that purchase of that note is. That's better than having to fund the whole 100%. You know what I mean? Okay. Questions? You won't buy a note from a hard money lender. I mean, you can, but they usually don't want par. Most hard money lenders won't lend on notes. They don't want to lend on it. They're in the creation process. I don't get it, but they like short-term deals, 6 to 12 months. They like control of the asset. They want to be in the first lien deed. They make their money on the points and the spread. And they might have notes for sale that you can buy, but they usually want them at par because they're already written at 65, 70% of value. Okay. But they can have a higher interest rate, usually at 12% or greater. If you've got some cheap funds that you want to put to work, great. You might even buy some non-performing. We bought hard money loans from hard money lenders are going out of business in longer foreclosure states. Okay. What else do I add to the funding? When you're funding a note, it's not just the purchase of the note. You may want to also add the taxes and determine if you're going to have to pay the taxes before you foreclose. If there's a pending tax sale coming up, you may want to go ahead and add in the taxes that get funded, so your investor funds that as well. You may want to review values from BPO or qualified realtor CMA. Add some your due diligence costs, the title, cost for title, update, BPO. So basically maybe another $1,000 for due diligence costs. Always, 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 always put eyes in an asset before closing. Make sure it's still there. Make sure the online photos matches with what you see. If they send you an old BPO, make sure it's not missing a roof or anything like that. You're going to want to budget in your foreclosures, taxes, workout, servicing costs. What I always like to say is that if you're figuring foreclosure, we figure 3,500 to 5,000 for foreclosure costs. Taxes are pretty relevant, figuring out if you can either delay or you got to pay the taxes in a minute. Workout servicing costs about $1,500. So at least $5,000 to $6,000 on the foreclosure servicing workout costs. And then if you need to, if you're buying it cheap enough and you know you're going to have to rehab it, then you want to figure in some repair costs, 15, 20 grand, depending on where it's at. I had budgets be 50 grand before. I've had budgets be 1,500. Depends on the asset. Okay. But you don't have to figure this on the front end, because if you think you're going to sell at the auction, great, don't add that. But it may be something you want to prepare your investor for. Okay, if we don't sell that auction, I may need to come back to you and get the repair costs along the way. Okay. Insurance is a very big thing, forced place insurance, especially in Florida. Houston, here in Texas, got more expensive. So make sure to check out your forced place insurance costs. That can get kind of pricey. There may be some HOA fees that need to be paid. Sometimes they get wiped out. Sometimes you only got to pay a percentage. Water bills usually got paid. Code enforcement liens that won't go away. Look at what those are. That's why you pull title to see what's outstanding in title. And like I will usually add $500 to $1,000 additional on top of these stuff for marketing costs, due diligence, obviously, or asset management fees, depending on what's going on. Okay. When you add these up, you want to stay below 65% of the as-is value when funding, making sure that's if they owe more. So if it's worth 100, make sure that all this stuff added up isn't more than 65%. Okay. Otherwise, it's too skinny a deal. There are 5 things that protect your investors, and this is something to keep in mind. A, we're only buying first liens. That's very important. I don't buy second, so I'm not going to put your money in a second position unless I own the first 2. Okay. Only buying first liens. We're buying at 70% or below of as is value, not ARV. We're buying at a discount. We're using servicing companies and attorneys to foreclose and collect. We're going to put forced place insurance, property insurance in case of an act of God or angry borrower. And we're always going to check title and the collateral files. We're always going to do due diligence on that to make sure that we have the right, all the paperwork is right so that we have the right to foreclose. And we're going to use professionals. It's not me servicing. It's not me collecting. I'm not going to be flying to the rehab. We're going to use professionals to do that. It's one of the most important things to keep in mind. Okay. Got a question here from Parnell. Let's see what he say. When a homeowner is a borrower who is behind on their mortgage contacts you, is there a way to contact and buy that note from their lender to rehab the borrower? This happened to me recently, but I didn't know how to help them. So no, look here. So it's just, if you have a distressed borrower, like if you send out postcards or foreclosure and somebody reaches out to you, it all depends on the lender. If it's Bank of America, Chase, Citi, Wells Fargo, you're not going to buy from those big 5 or 6. Okay. All depends on the lender. Yes, you can buy that note. If the bank's willing to sell that note and you reach out to buy that note, yeah, you can buy that note. But here's the thing. Depending on what you buy it for, you probably don't want to, if the borrower will work with you, it all depends on what they can pay. I wouldn't buy the note and then modify the loan, make it a whole lot cheaper for them on the front end. No, you're going to make some payments. Okay. Like I don't target distressed borrowers, say, hey, I want to buy your note. No. You don't want to do that. Okay. Now you can't talk to the borrower ahead of time. Same thing. If you get a listing from a bank of notes and contact the borrower and say, hey, can you modify? Do you want to stay in your house? That's illegal. You can't do that. Can't contact the borrower because you don't actually own the note to negotiate. That's a big fair debt collection practice violation. CFPB will fine you $50,000 per case on that. Okay. But it all depends on who the bank is. All right. So like I said, Bank of America, Chase, Citi, Wells Fargo, Nation Star, stuff like that. Those top 5, 10 banks, you're not going to be able to buy a one-off note. Okay. Now, in some cases, like I had somebody reach out to me who wants to buy a note in New York. It goes to foreclosure in 60 days. Might be able to buy that note from that bank. I don't know. It's a smaller bank. I haven't heard of them. We reached out to him yesterday. Left a couple of messages. We're following up on Monday. If the bank is 90% of the way through the foreclosure process, they may just go ahead and say, no, we just want to go and foreclose. It's weird right now. Some would just finish the foreclosure process. Others, like if they could sell the note and they ain't got to deal with the property or the asset afterwards, they may be willing to do it. So it all depends on a case-by-case basis per now. What you have to realize is that whoever that borrower is, if they can't pay, I don't keep them in the house. Like I'm not going to buy a note and just let them stay in the house for free. I run a profit, right? Now, if I buy the note cheap enough, and they can start making their existing payment. I mean, if they're behind like 2-3 years, they can't bring 2 years, but they can maybe bring 4 months to the table. If they can't bring 4 months to the table, I'm not going to keep them in the house. I'm going to say, listen, I'll do a deed in lieu and let you walk without a foreclosure on your record. 24 months, your late payments will be off. You can go back and buy a new house. But if you get foreclosed on 7 years, so it's better for me to give you some cash to walk away versus me having to go through the foreclosure process. That's going to hurt you long term. You don't want to do it. Does that make sense for you, Parnell? Does that answer your question? It all depends on who their lender is. Did you know who their lender was by any chance? Yeah, a lot of people got behind COVID. That's fine. But what happened, though, is a lot of people got behind, never wanted to start paying again. Okay, well, if you haven't paid for 4 years, what'd you do with the money? Have you been working? Some banks said, oh, we'll delay it for 6 months, then you got to bring 6 months to the table. That doesn't work. It's not smart. Okay. But that's one of the why we look at COVID now as being this, catastrophic event that if they were up, on time prior to COVID, okay, we'll modify. But if they were behind prior to COVID, it's probably going to be a foreclosure most of the time. And no, I won't buy a note, do a deed in lieu and let the borrower stay in the house and do a rental. That's the worst thing you can do there. If they can pay their mortgage, which is probably cheaper than rent, just doesn't make sense. It's better for them to move on and go somewhere else. All right, everybody, we're back with our second half of Note Weekend here in June. And glad to have you guys all here. We've covered a lot of stuff already about how we find these deals, the types of notes that we're chasing, licensing requirements, how do you kind of collateralize them, stuff like that. Well, today's all about finding investors right now in this session. Session number 7 is all about finding investors. And for some of you, this will be the most valuable thing you take away from here. Remember, you're not going to learn everything about no investing in one afternoon class. It's a lot of moving parts to it, as I think you maybe have. It's different than buying the real estate. When it comes to raising capital, it's very similar, but the way I teach it, it's literally one of the easiest ways to raise capital. Everybody that is watching this, listening to this, you are capable of raising $1 million in private capital in the next 90 days. If you just do the things that we do, you'll be blown away by how easy it is to find investors, okay? And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Our one-on-one coaching students are raising millions of dollars of private capital for their deal flow, okay? So finding investors to fund your deals. Pretty simple to do. Real estate investment clubs and meetup groups, that's kind of everybody knows. I'm going to go meet up with people, or I'm going to go to an investment club. Here's the problem with those areas. Yes, you will find investors there, but they're greedy, just like you, right? They want to make 10, 12, 15% on their deal. They want to do short-term stuff because that's what they've heard they can do. And that's great. But there's also more people looking for money at those places than there is actually money in a lot of cases. Okay. You can go jump on LinkedIn, type in real estate investors, and we've done that and systemized that with like Octopus CRM in the outreach. Hey, I see you're an investor. What are you looking to do? We'll look keywords, real estate investor, IRA, SDIRA investor. We'll jump in LinkedIn groups. We'll look at different profiles too. You can jump on Connected Investor. You can look on Bigger Pockets. There's some things that we go into in our 3-day class that really help people find and raise capital through Bigger Pockets really easy through the keywords and posting specific keywords to look for, and then send them a pitch deck video to touch base with them afterwards and start that process, because it's a multifaceted, really 3, 4, 5 touch approach to raising capital in a lot of cases. But what we like is self-directed IRA, and you can find them at these different events that these self-directed IRA companies host. But we like to target public records. This is what's been the biggest bang for the buck. Now, there is a website called Netra Online, which basically brings all the county records, county websites together in one spot. You click on Netra Online, official public records. It pops up a map of the state, of the country. You click on a state, you pick the county, Then it gives you a listing of a website for the county appraiser, the assessors, tax, all sorts of things in the counties. And then what do? Well, this is a free tool. Most websites, most of these county websites are free. There's a few counties that will charge. Some allow you to search more than others. Some are very specific. They won't let you search by names, stuff like that. But if we go to the county appraisal districts, here's where the first bit of magic happens for you. Okay. You can also do the county clerk. We'll talk about how those two work for you in a second here. And people that have a self-directed IRA, okay? People that have a self-directed IRA with Quest, Equity Trust, Pensco, there's 50 different IRA companies out there. Some are bigger in different parts of the country. But like if I go to the Travis County Appraisal District here in Austin, Texas, and I type in Equity Trust or Quest Trust Company as the owner name, it will pop up a list of people who have used their self-directed IRA to buy a piece of property, whether it's rental or land. It gives me the address. It gives me their mailing address a lot of times. Now, sometimes the mailing address is the IRA company. Others, it's their actual mailing address. That's easy shooting when it comes to raising capital, because guess what? People have used their IRA to lend, are smart, they're educated, they're using their IRAs in a passive manner. It's very, very easy to get these people to raise private capital if you follow up with them on a regular basis. Hey, I saw that you used your IRA to buy a property. Are you looking for more deals to fund? I've got deals. I'd love to talk. I like to network with other investors. Let's talk. Now, that's the appraisal district. Pretty easy to do. If you can search by name, that's easy to do. You can find hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of investors that way. Send a letter or postcard. There's a system that we teach in our 3-day class that's really effective. Okay. Not going to go through much of that today. That's what it's just simple. If you go now, there are counties in some states that won't let you search by name, like California won't let you search by name, Minnesota won't let you search by name, Maryland, Virginia won't let you search by name. Where else? There's another one I'm drawing blank, but most counties, like there's enough. Like if you go to Ohio, that's the land of Equity Trust. You go to all the counties there in Ohio, they'll let you search by name. Just type in Equity Trust, you'll find hundreds. And even some counties across America make it really easy to hit a download button. It downloads the whole name to an Excel spreadsheet. Easy to work, okay? Beautiful, okay? Now, the recorder's office, the clerk, that's a little bit more difficult. What you would do on the clerk is look for people who have lent money. So you're looking at a deed search, same thing, Equity Trust, but doing a deed document search, and you're searching by, you can do a full 12 months. You might need to shrink it down to 6 months or 90 days, stuff like that. But same thing, it's going to pull up a list. You're going to need to click on a copy of the deed to see who the name is of the investor who lent money. Sometimes you'll get multiple on there, their mail addresses. That's a little bit more intense, needs a little bit more work, but it's also very efficient because you know these people lent money out of their IRA to somebody else for a real estate deal. So it's a much higher hit rate in raising capital from these investors by just touching base. You don't need a huge amount of lists. If you got 100, 200 names and you're dropping a letter or postcard at these people and do it 3, 4, 5 times, you're going to raise $1 million because here's the big kicker. The average balance in an IRA, okay, the average balance, so actually 67% of people that have an IRA have 150 grand or more. 67%. So you only need like 6 or 7 people with an IRA to raise $1 million. So if you figure 6 people at a 4% open mail rate, that's 200 people, basically. 200 letters, and 4% would give you 8 people. That's what you need to raise $1 million. And we see it done on a regular basis. Now, appraisal districts, you can search by multiple IRA names. Sorry, the 2 biggest are going to be Equity Trust, Quest Trust. Find the mailing address, find the account holder names, look for if they have any other property. So like if it says Scott Carson and the mail address says Equity Trust 17177 Park Row, Houston, Texas is the mail address, I know that's Quest's mailing address, right? So instead of me mailing a letter to them, I'm going to go to the county like Travis County and type in Scott Carson and see what else he has. And if there's a mailing address for a different asset, it's the same borrower, or same lender, that's who I'm going to mail it to. And I'm not going to mail it to the IRA company. They're usually not going to pass it on. But it's a great way to find if they're investing. Like I've seen people who have had 5 to 100 different properties. Like that's an ideal investor to reach out to. Maybe I don't need 8, I need 1 or 2. Okay. And then I could also take the name and go Google on White Pages or Spokio to find a mailing address, or just Googling that person on Google. I can find who they work for, if it's the same city, state. If I go to LinkedIn and find them on there, I can send them a direct message. I may not even send a postcard or letter at all. All right. This making sense, everybody? Is this kind of blowing you away a little bit? Some of you have heard me talk about this before. Some of this brand new. Like one thing that we do too is we take a property back or a property for sale. We'll do this in the same county and say, hey, we've got a deal for sale. Are you looking to buy a property? Or if we have to take an asset back that's ugly, we don't do the rehab, we'll reach out to IRA investors and say, hey, do you want to buy? We got a new property. Do you want to fix and flip it in your area? But this is, simple. Like there was a realtor down in New Braunfels that reached out to me. It's commercial properties they're looking to raise capital for. So we'll just just go to the county record. You can pull up 150 people in Bexar County alone or Comal County who have invested in real estate. If you're looking to raise, $500,000, there you go. You need 2-3 people. Reach out to those people who are investing there locally. All right. It's not difficult. Mail them a letter, postcard, contact social media, and just start that process. Okay. Simple thing. Now on the recorders, like we talked about before, same thing. Search for the name. You do a deed search to find their name. It's going to pull up a mailing address, the amount they lent them, plus the 2 things are great. You see the amount that they lent, or you do a release of lien, and they get paid back. That's a golden nugget there. Look for a release of lien in the last 6 months on an IRA investor. That's the amount they got paid off, and they've released the lien, so they have money to invest. Okay. And not only do you have the name of the investor, but you also they lent the money to as a potential funding source for you too. Mail letter, postcard, contact via social media. We've got our VAs that do this work for us. So it's pretty easy. It's to give you a bit of an idea. Like I pulled 2,500 names across the state of Texas in like the 10 biggest counties. We basically gave that with our VA. They found 400 names and email, found 400 contact information as far as emails. And now that 400 people, they're just getting drip marketed on a monthly basis. Hey, we got a deal available for sale. Or we're looking for funding on a deal. Are you looking to put your money to work? We also, one thing to do is if we get them to contact us, we'll get their cell phone number and put them in a SMS campaign. So like, then if I have a deal that's looking for funding, I can just send a text blast out to 1,400, 1,500 people and raise the money I need in just a few minutes. Okay. Now you can go out and buy custom lists. This is a little bit easier, but it's more of a watered down list. It's not people that have a self-directed IRA. It's those that have an IRA just by themselves. Like I said, you can search by city, county, state. You can ask for a list of just people that have 150K or more. You can also buy a list of employees of the company, like when Halliburton was laying people off, or other people go, hey, I want to buy a list of everybody that works for this one company that got laid off with high 401ks. They can give you the list, and it'll be, pretty full list. Names, addresses, emails, sometimes phone numbers. Have used 2 companies in the past. Melissa Data, who we used to use, we like exactdata.com. And that's been a pretty good now. Like I said, it's a generic list of people that just have an IRA. They may not be real estate investors, so it's much more of an educational aspect that I have to educate them on. But if I can get them at 6 to 14 cents a list or lead, most of the time they want you to buy $1,000 worth of leads. That's 15,000 names. It's going to take you a while to get those into your CRM or email campaign, but you can raise a lot of money that way, drip marketing, or even get a little bit more fancier by using like Facebook marketing and stuff like that too, but we won't go into that. Okay. But 16,000 names of investors in an area, you guys, if you market that, you got plenty of investors. You don't have to do anything else. Okay. Now, where can you post this stuff? It's good to post. What you want to post is start sharing. You want to start getting outside of the crowd. Most people aren't doing anything. Okay. Most people aren't posting. They might post on Facebook Marketplace once, and that's about it. That's not effective. You've got to post on a regular basis. I believe that the more you post, the more you cast the net, the more likely you catch a fish. Okay. Pretty simple. It is not difficult to do this. So like if you've got a deal for sale or a deal you closed on, post a deal that you've done. People like past experiences. That's if you don't have a deal that you're currently working on. If you got somebody that's working on a deal you're friends with, share their deal. Hey, I got a deal we're working on. Hey, I got a property that my friend Forrest is trying to sell, whatever it might be. Now, here's a video of a property that we sold last month, or we're working on stuff. Pictures are really great until a picture. Videos do even better. I'm always amazed that realtors just post like one picture of a property. That's what all they post. Like, that doesn't really tell the full picture. Video is what you need to do. That's why if we walk a property, we always take a video of it. Always do a walk around video, then more photos, because that's such valuable marketing. It adds experience. It adds a whole layer to the story than just what the property looks like from above. Never mention safe or guaranteed. Those are two big bad words. Okay. Never mention safe or guaranteed. You can say it's secured by real estate. That's one thing. Okay. I like to create a short pitch deck video, usually about 10 minutes, talks about my experience, what we're doing, what we're focused on. Our one-on-one coaching students, that's what they do, and that helps them raise capital because it answers most of the questions. And then when they mark it out to be a postcard or letter, there's a QR code or a link for them to go watch their pitch deck video. That raises capital pretty easy. But the idea is just to post deals, post past deals, post foreclosures. We've seen a lot of success recently reposting what others have posted about like foreclosures, taking that picture of that property, me doing a short 1-minute video about the deal, the specifics, and then posting it across all our socials. All right. But here's the thing. Don't be afraid to share about you, your focus, your background, your team, your vendors, any deals that you've completed or done. It doesn't need to be notes. Okay. Yes, it helps that you're doing some notes, but if you don't have any notes to close on, share deals that you fixed and flipped. Share property. If you've ever bought a piece of property, you're a real estate investor. Share it. If you're making an offer, hey, I'm making an offer on this 26 acres. Okay. Or I'm making an offer on this 5-acre farm. Or I'm walking around this triplex on Lake Mille Lacs up in Isle, Minnesota. All right. Or I'm making an offer on this, West Palm Beach condo. Whatever it is, share and share and share. Do it a little bit each day. It goes a long way. It's like planting little seeds. Okay. Now, when it comes to qualifying investors, not every investor is created equal. Okay. There's questions I like to ask them. Are they currently investing in real estate? Now, if I see that they've got a self-directed IRA and they've lent or bought, that's a pretty easy slam dunk. Now, if I bought the list from Exact Data, then I need to ask that for sure. Are you currently investing in real estate? Are they accredited or sophisticated? How much are they looking to invest? How much are you putting to work? Like, I had a student who's all excited. Somebody called him and said, hey, I'm looking to invest. I've got some money in my 401k. They never asked the amount. Like, you got to ask them how much are they looking to put to work. 50K usually needs to be a minimum of that. All right. If somebody says 5K, but you've got to deal with 50K, that doesn't help you. 5K is not enough. 5K is more of a pain in the ass than anything. So you want to set some minimums. 50K, usually when you start off, you'll probably bump that to 100K as you get going forward. I wouldn't go below that unless they're close friends and family. That's the only exception I would make. Anybody else, make sure they've got to bring 50. If you don't have it, market more. Don't take 10K, 10K, 15K, 15K. That's a sure sign you're pooling money, and that's not a good deal to fund one note. One investor per each note, not 2, 3. Now you can partner with that investor. You could bring half it and they could fund the other half, and you partner on buying that deal. That's a different thing, but don't be pooling money from other people. Okay. How long are they looking to invest? If this money's sitting in their IRA and they're doing anything, they can't touch it. So a 2 to 3 year period is short term. Most people think when they hear notes, they think 30 years. Well, we're not doing things for 30 years. We're doing 24, 36 months for the most part. Okay. Are they active or passive? If they're an active investor doing fix and flips, they're probably going to high returns. Some guy came to me and says, I got $500,000 I want to put with you. I'm like, okay, what kind of return are you looking for? 15%. I'm like, not going to happen. He goes, what do you mean? I know you can get those type of returns. Yeah, I can get those type of returns. I'm doing the work. If you want 15%, go do the work yourself, because I'm not going to give up that much. No need to. There's plenty of money out there. Okay. Plenty of money out there. What kind of returns are you looking for is so important. Oh, I want, I'll be happy making 8. Great. I can give you 8. Or what's this money been doing? It's been sitting there making 0. Okay. How long has it been sitting there making nothing? 4 years. I'll give you 6%. Well, I want to make 15. Yeah. But what happens is 2 different things. You've been making 0. I'm going to give you 6, or I'll give you 8. I'm not going to give you 15. 15 is reserved for those that are going to hustle. And if I'm doing most of the work, the finding, the workouts, all that stuff, money is really not the gold. He who has the gold makes the rules, ladies and gentlemen. And in most of the times, it's not the actual money, unless you're desperate and depressed. If you've got a deal, that's the true gold mine. Okay. And then we always make our investors, potential investors, even fill out an investment questionnaire. We provide that in the 3-day course. It's 15 to 20 questions they ask about some stuff. They need to fill that out before we'll proceed going to the next step. Now, investors that you want to avoid are people that are unfamiliar with real estate, brand new to it. That's a bigger pain in the ass. People wanting short-term, well, I want to do 6 months. Well, that's too skinny a deal, a time frame, and too high an ROI. Like I said before, you really want to stick to $50,000 investments and above. People who talk bad about it, go look at somebody's social. What are they saying bad? If they're sue happy, all right? They bash negative people. Guess what? You can do all the work. If you promise them 12, but you give them 11.9, they're going to be mad at you. Not worth it, okay? Ask for references from somebody. Hey, who's your attorney? Have you done business with other people? Can I have references? And they may find that funny. Like, what do you mean I'm giving reference? Well, if you've partnered with other people, I want to talk to them. Make sure it's a fit. It may not be a fit, you and me, and that's okay. We still part as friends, but you have to realize, ladies and gentlemen, you are interviewing that investor just as much as they're interviewing you. Don't be afraid to walk away. Trust that sixth sense. The only times I've gotten issues is when I didn't trust my sixth sense and I went against it. There's times I shouldn't have. I've had people come in and fund deals that I should have never done. Should have just marketed a little bit more. Okay, you're going to get sued at some point. It happens. You do enough deals, you will be sued. It happens. Part of real estate. Okay. A lot of people getting sued now with what's going on in the market, stuff like that. But the biggest thing is, ladies, is stick to your guns on this stuff. The credit investors, sophisticated investors understand things will happen, and all they're looking for is a solution of some sort. Okay. All these syndications that are in trouble are basically invested people that never pulled the trigger before. Okay. What I like about no investing is one, you can go put a syndication, put a fund together you want, but you're not going to do that until you've raised a couple million. So go find one investor, fund one deal. If it makes sense, it's going to make sense on it. There's a lot of ways to make money on it. Set yourself up for, I don't make quarterly, I don't make monthly payments. If it's a performing note, great, we'll make quarterly payments. If it's a non-performing note, we don't make quarterly payments until we get the borrower back on track. If they don't get back on track, then we pay it when we foreclose and sell the asset off. Okay. Always require your investors to fill out the investment questionnaire or profile sheet, send you a pledge letter or email. Okay. And it's pretty simple. Pledge letter is just an email that says, hey, I'm attaching my proof of funds from my 401k or self-directed IRA. It shows $500,000. I'm pledging $50K to do note deals with you. They won't return those items. Guess what? They're not going to fund. And they might need to open a self-directed account with a trustee. They may not have a self-directed ID. Great, set it up. It may take a week or two for them to get set up. It's going to take 3 days at least to usually, if they're in a stock fund or like Scott Trade or Fidelity, it's going to take at least 3 days to sell out of those funds into cash. And then it may take another week for them to wire the funds and things to get set up. If they're doing a rollover, it's going to take 6 weeks in some cases, because most lenders won't do a wire transfer. They're going to send a paper check out on a rollover, which is just shitty. Okay. But anyway, this is very important. Have paperwork created by an attorney. Make sure you're having funding agreement reviewed. Put some things in there for arbitration, some clauses. I have a penalty if they cancel. They want their money back before the agreement term. So if it's a 1-year agreement, they want their money back in less than a year, there's a 25% penalty. They got to give me 90 days to refinance them out. I'm always glad to have the CPA or the attorney review. They're going to screw shit up because they're not knowing what the hell they're doing. Okay. Feel free. You can review it, but they're probably going to screw shit up. It just is what it is. Attorneys have a notorious way of messing shit up because they want to throw their weight around, and a lot of them are just freaking idiots. Okay. Always use agreements, though, even with your family members. It outlines what happens when things go wrong. Can't tell you that's so important. And most investors can't make 6% or greater. If they were, they'd go out and do it themselves. Otherwise, if it's sitting there making money, not making any money, don't give them something that they're not going to give themselves. 66%. Okay. Actually, not 60, about 40% of all money in IRA is sitting there making 0%. They've rolled it over. They want to do something, but it's just sitting there, not doing anything. I mean, who hasn't had an IRA somewhere? They rolled it over or something like that, sat there and didn't do anything. You forgot about it. You got to put it to work. Realize, hey, I'm going to put it to work for you, but I'm going to give you, I'm not going to give you 10% or 12. I'll give you 7, 8%. If money's making 0, 6% is an above average return. Keep that in mind and use that as a negotiation tactic when you're looking at that. Okay. Now, when it comes to payments, I talked about this. Set up your payments to be quarterly, avoid monthly. If they want monthly, don't do it. It's a bigger pain in the ass. Plus, the fees will be nickel and dime. It's like a million paper cuts. Set up an online portal for tracking help. That's like Basecamp, Dropbox. There are a whole variety of different Podia, different things you can do. Google Sheets, something that you share the collateral files, share what you're doing, share a message. Never, ever pool money investors together. One investor per asset. That's not including if you're contributing. But never bring in like 4 different investors. Now, if you got like 4 family members that want to pool their money together, make them go get an LLC and have whatever they invest into that LLC, that's your percentage. Then you're borrowing the money from the LLC, not from them individually. That step alone can keep you out of trouble. Okay. Trust your instincts. If you don't like the individual, you get a bad feeling, they're an asshole or something like that, you don't want to jump in and investing in bed with them. Okay. And one thing I say, listen, and if somebody says, oh, I got 200 grand, great. Let's start off with 50 grand or 100 grand. Let's make sure it's a good fit. If it's not a good fit, then no biggie. We just part ways and leave as friends. But you're going to be with this, invest with this people for at least 6 to 12 months, if not longer. So keep that in mind. One of the biggest mistakes I made was not communicating on a regular basis. A lot of things that got me in trouble. The more communication you have, the better. That's why I like a Basecamp or something. Like you can go in and post updates to it, and everybody gets alerted to it. Whether they read it or not, that's not up to them. It's up to them, but it makes it a little bit easier to do. Okay. Makes sense, everybody? Have any questions about that before we dive into the marketing side of things? Raising capital is actually pretty easy. You know, you're going to find that if you do market for money, you're going to get more money. Most people have plenty of money. They don't have deals because they're just not marketing for deals like they do for capital. Okay. All right, moving on. All right, let's go through some different ways of note marketing, ways to market your notes, your note business, stuff like that. This is really a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite sessions of that. 80% of sales are made after the 5th contact. You already heard me talk about that when contacting asset managers. It's the same when it comes to raising capital. Expect to post regularly and often. But here's the thing. There are tools that you can use to help you automate this. You don't have to do this during the day or as you go. You can literally do it and automate it or set it up where you do it once a week and it posts weekly for you, okay? You can use buffer.com. Hootsuite's a little bit expensive, but buffer.com is pretty easy to use. You can go and post the same thing anytime, scheduled to go live, scheduled to go out. Very easy to do about assets or deals you're working on. There are 3 most important things to use in today's market. In today's marketing, these are the 3 most important things. First thing is email. You got to have a CRM. I like keep.com. They're not the cheapest, but they have more bells and whistles that you can use to make this easy for you to do. Okay. Cheap is not, you do get what you pay for. I'll tell you that right now. Okay. Some CRMs are cheap and they suck. I've used Keep for, I don't know, about 10 years now, and they keep coming up with new things. Okay. LinkedIn, you got to have a LinkedIn profile, and you can use a service called octopuscrm.io. It's another tool. It's like $21 a month to help you automate and making connections and reaching out to people through LinkedIn. It's well worth it. That's how we went from 6,000 to 30,000 connections on LinkedIn is Octopus. Okay. And we have basically the free account or the mid-grade account, whatever. And then you got to realize and embrace video marketing of some sort. YouTube is the number 1 because it's the number 2 search engine behind Google, but there's a whole variety of video things, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. It's the one thing we've been messing around with by posting, almost daily videos and some sort of real estate article or deal flow. Works really, really well. Okay. Now, email marketing, like I talked about this, is still the number 1 ROI for marketing. You get for every dollar spent, $44 back. That's a 4,400% ROI. You can't beat that. That's from the American Marketing Association, not me. So choosing not to use email is literally just being stupid. I'm sorry. I'm going to call a spade a spade. If you're not emailing your list on a weekly basis because you're lazy or you don't know. So I'm going to say that you don't know. So now you know. You need to start marketing to your database. That means pulling a list of business cards. Going out and networking. Anybody you've sold a property to in the past or got a listing from, put them on your database. It's so important. It's the one thing to touch base. These free, that's what everybody's all scared about, like TikTok going away, because people have built these huge followings, but they don't have their email. They don't have a true way to contact them outside the platform. Okay? Connect with people. One thing that I do in a new platform, if somebody connects with me, I always say, hey, thanks for the follow. What's your email? So I can, if you want to, I can add you to my email list. And if they don't respond, that's fine. But a lot of them respond. So I build that relationship because I'm building something valuable. Okay. You can use Keep, Aweber, MailChimp, whatever. Remember, we talked about the marketing to your asset manager database. You can do the same thing to your investor database, sending the same thing Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. I also have very good success sending out on a Sunday night email. That's right before people go to work. All right. I don't send Friday afternoon, but send something valuable. Why do I send it Sunday at 7 p.m.? Because that's when people are usually looking at their phones, thinking about Monday. So we announce a new podcast episode or a new webinar, something on Sunday nights. It's the #1 open rate email for us. What I talk about? You can talk about when you're brand new. There's 4 basic things you can talk about. Guess what? Every month has a holiday. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy April Fools. Happy Mother's Day. Happy graduation. Happy Memorial Day. Happy Father's Day. Happy 4th of July. Happy back to school. Happy Patriots Day. You get what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? Happy Halloween. That's 1 week. That's 1 email. So at least once a month, you can wish somebody a happy holiday. At least, okay? Next thing, if you're going to a meetup group somewhere local, most of you are going to have an audience that's more local, right? Mine's nationwide because I traveled so much, okay? So maybe you're going to a conference. Maybe you're going to a meetup group. Hey, I'm going to my local real estate investment club this Thursday night. If you want to join me, hey, shoot me a message. I'd love to buy you a beer or an adult, or a cup of coffee. We can talk about investing, okay? Maybe you got a personal event, something come up, vacation. Maybe I would advertise the vacation after when you get back with photos from the vacation so they don't know, hey, you're not home. I'm going to go rob your house. Okay. Personal event. You get a closing. That's another thing. Or celebrated a birthday. Like I posted a photo of me turning 47. I got all these comments about it. Good things. All right. Or even a little something like I went to Minnesota and I took my mom to her first baseball game. Or we went and, checked out Paul Bunyan and Bay the Blue Ox in Bemidji. It's just personal. It gives people like the fact that they can get a chance to know you. All right. Celebrate an anniversary, whatever, something personal event. And then of course, a past or present deal. The reason you want to get in the habit of sharing past or present deals is so that when you do have a deal that you need funding, it's not coming across the board like, I don't know you. Like, don't you hate that? Like, hey, I'm saying my first meal. I need you to fund this deal. Well, I don't know you from Adam. I don't want to build a rapport virtually with you. Okay. This is part of the reason we like video so much because it helps build rapport faster, but the email is just as important to keep that communication going. And we get a 35 to 50% open rate on our email databases. And I've got a big database. But I also notice when I haven't emailed in a week or two, if I fall off the wagon and don't send it, it's a slower open rate. I got to build that open rate back up by just staying on top of mind, present of mind with people once a week. Okay. Now, like I said, you're mailing your investor database once a week, asset managers once or twice a month. Okay. Now, LinkedIn, leverage this. This is really the professional social media. Take the time to complete your profile 100%. There's some cool things you can do to stand out. Like if you're looking for notes, put note investor, real estate investor. It's still the most professional social media out there. You got to use it. Easy way to find investors, bankers. Like we talked about octopuscrm.io. Go check it out. It will help you automate reaching out to 20 to 100 people per day. Okay. I can create lists in Octopus CRM, asset manager, podcast host, note investor, IRA investors, and find groups and send connections to 20 to 100 people a day. Where else are you going to do that? Probably nowhere. Okay. But I can start my morning off by logging in Octopus, start the connection and automates it. Great. I come back, go for a walk, come back. I'm now connected with 100 new people who've subscribed to my profile or follow me. Beautiful. Only 3% of LinkedIn users post daily. So if you post something, even post on the weekend about something, you're probably going to get a lot of feedback, but grow it. Use Octopus. Just getting on there. If you only have a 500 connection, only getting on there and talk about what you're doing isn't necessarily going to grow it. You need to be actively reaching out to investors to grow your database. Okay. Join and post to groups, although a lot of those are dead. Still posting in some of these investment groups. They've got, you can be in a connection in a group with somebody and then connect them. Say, hey, we're connected through this group, and it's often a warm market. And LinkedIn will allow you to import up to about 1,000 email names into LinkedIn if you know how to do that. And we show you how to do that in our 3-day course. Okay. Video marketing. Look, this little thing, these phones, as long as you have a flip phone like my Uncle Vern, you still got a flip phone. If you're not Uncle Vern, then you've probably got a phone that does video. And you can take a quick video when you're walking around a property, going to a meetup. Look, post it to YouTube. It's the second largest search engine owned by the #1 search engine. Okay. I use TubeBuddy. It helps me grow because I can come up with keywords. One of the most important things about YouTube is just uploading the video. You got to have a nice title, description, and then tags. Those are all important. Yes, a thumbnail is important to get people to click on it. But with what YouTube does now with them auto-playing the video, it's important to get stuff in one thing. Short videos do really well. Actually, YouTube is doing this whole short thing where it's a minute or less. It promotes. I mean, we've done shorts that average 400 to 500 to 1,000 views. We take that same video and throw it on TikTok, and we're averaging 400. I got one video is 131,000 views on an asset. Okay. 10, 15. I think one posted yesterday is up to 5,000 about Austin being overpriced. Okay. But that's posting that same video that I upload to YouTube. I upload to TikTok. I upload to Instagram. I share it everywhere else. Remember, I'm casting a net, not just posting in one spot with one line. If you've ever been fishing, think about this. You throw a cast net out, you're going to catch more versus just throwing one line in the water, waiting for that one line. What's to be more efficient? Okay. You can do Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, all this stuff is really working with shorter videos, 5 to 10 minutes to share what you're doing. Okay. Now we also use long form video. By long form, it means it's videos that are more than 10 minutes long. Case studies, deal flow. Our buddy Cal Ewing's doing a no deal of the week. He's breaking down, and it's helping him grow his channel, helping him grow his investor contacts. It's helping him build more rapport with investors. Okay. And you don't need any fancy software. All the software and stuff you need is on your phone for the most part to upload it and tweak it through their all mobile enabled. Okay. We believe in something called the marketing octagon or content octagon, where you take one piece of content and reshare it. So like if I take a photo of a property, I can then reshare it. I can create a small little video about it, talk about that deal case study. I can upload it to the link to Buffer and have it promoted across Buffer, or Twitter, or Facebook, have it go the same time across all those platforms or staggered. I can schedule it so I don't have to worry about doing it live. Not everyone that you know is on every platform. And we all know the platforms don't share your message or share your content with all your followers. They just don't do that. You're lucky to get 1 to 5% on Facebook, about 11% of YouTube. TikTok does a better job, but it's starting to, LinkedIn's about 10%. So the idea here is to share it so that you have a cross-pollination of somebody seeing you once, or they see you twice and like, oh, you're everywhere. I want to see what you're doing. Okay. Cross promoting means more hit, more likely to get something to happen. It doesn't take that much to do it. Posting at lunch time, 3 p.m., 7 p.m., and 9 p.m. also works best because that's when most people are on their phones. Okay. Start with one new platform, post, and then share it to the next platform week 2, another platform week 3. And you'll soon realize that, like, I'll give you an example. It takes me a couple minutes to record a 1-minute video. I post it to YouTube as a YouTube short. I then post it to TikTok as a video. I then go and post it to LinkedIn. I then go post it to Twitter. I then go, to Twitter or X, what do you want to call it, to Instagram. And then I also go share it to Threads or Reel, whatever like that, and post it to my personal and my business. I can take one piece of video, 1-minute video, and share it like 10 spots. Okay. That's how we basically carpet bomb our social media with content, but it also leads to people paying attention. This is why I don't have to travel. I can work from home. I ain't got to fly out to do stuff because we got people in our database that will do a lot of stuff. Does that make sense, everybody? It's a kind of a quick social media marketing aspect, but it's something you need to embrace as an investor. It's the 21st century. If you're not going to embrace this, you're going to still try to do like how you used to do things beforehand. Guess what? You're going to be out of business. You're going to struggle to get shit done. Why struggle? Be smart. All right. Let's move on. So one of the big questions I get from people is, how do we structure these deals as far as business entities go for you? Can I buy in my own name? Yes, you can buy in your own name. It's not very smart. So here's how we structure your note business. You need to use entities. You can use LLCs, trust, S corp. There's a variety of ways, but you want to do it in entity. Do not do it in your own name. Okay. And I don't like to keep more than $1 million in asset values in any single LLC. So you're going to have, you can start off with one LLC, but make sure that LLC is not your other business. If you're doing something else, make sure it's a separate LLC. Okay, it just does not make sense to, oh, I don't want to pay the $300 register or the $800 register. Tough shit. It's business. Do it. Okay. Same thing. If I have an investor brings 250 or more to the table, we use a separate entity just for their deals that we're partnering on. Okay. You want to keep your deals or assets separate from partner deals. That's a separate LLC. You probably want to keep your performing notes separate from your non-performing. If you take any rental properties back, you may want to keep your rental portfolio separate from your note portfolio. Actually, you should keep it separate, not want to. Commercial assets, they get their own LLC. If you're going to be doing like a management company or doing some marketing and stuff like that, you want to probably do that in a separate LLC like I do. And then, of course, good asset protection is having like a management company that manages your assets and manages your other LLCs through like the Rockefeller strategy. It's important to do this. It's one of the most valuable things you can do. Yes, you can just use your self-directed IRA if you want, but it's not smart to fund in your own name or your IRA because you can search that way. It's good for asset protection to do it separate. You don't want the Consumer Finance Bureau coming after you individually. It's better to go through your LLC. Some actual counties out there are suing trustees for back tax, like Wayne County, which is in Detroit. If somebody isn't paying their back taxes, they're actually suing the self-directed IRA company. So this, like, Quest will not let you buy a note in Wayne County in just your IRA. It's got to be through your IRA LLC. Okay. Same thing. If you're going to be funding or using joint venture partners, get a separate LLC to stuff that up. You may, if you've got a big balance in your IRA, it might make sense for you to get checkbook access. So it's an IRA LLC. It's separate from just funding through some things. That's going to cost you probably around $1,000, $1,500 to set that up, but it can be worth it for speed of it. But it's also that extra asset protection. Okay. You can use trust. They're not, if it's something you're going to hold for a long term, trust all day long will work fine for you. If you end up foreclosed and take the asset back, I would just put it in a separate LLC. Just makes it simple for you. Okay. You do need to document things. Having an LLC is just not a trip to Secretary of State and getting a tax ID number. You need to document transactions, contracts, funding off agreements, offices, vendors, partnerships, leases. There are a whole variety of things that you need to document. It can seem like a lot. It often gets, brushed under the rug. I would highly recommend that you use Laughlin Associates to set up your LLCs. They're great at what they do, over 50 plus years of experience. About 95% of our students use Laughlin for their asset entity structuring. They just do a tremendous job. They've got a corporate bail protection plan that will help you out too. They'll help you with monthly tracking and documentation of your deals. And they have also with other asset protection stuff that you need to set up: wills, trusts, living trusts. Some of you guys will have sizable assets or estates that you need to put away so that you're not leaving a huge tax burden to your kids and family. They do a biannual event called Magnify Your Wealth. They just had one in San Diego a couple of weeks ago, so the next one's probably not till November. Well worth going to. Go to magnifyyourwealth.com, or you can watch the video that we do with Aaron Young. He's a buddy of ours, by going to Corp Veil Protection, bit.ly/Corp Veil Protection, and take a look at it. And it's well worth it. If you're older, you've got an estate of some sort, they'll literally be honest with you. Hey, you need this or you don't need this. There's other companies out there like Legal Doom or Anderson Advisors often will try to get you to oversell you on products. That's not what these guys do. They will look at it and say, you need this. This is what you need. And maybe you need this, but this is really all that you need right now. And they're very familiar with note investors. They know exactly what our students are doing, and they're really great at setting stuff up for you. Okay. You can go to corpveilprotection.com to get signed up for them, and or to schedule a phone call to talk with Brent, Megan, or any of the team over there. All right.